Hey class, how's it going? Welcome to week 9. We're going to talk a little bit about the principles of design now, specific principles of dominance, subordination, and contrast. Now you'll find dominance and subordination pretty much go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. And then contrast, kind of the same thing. A lot of these things overlap, okay? It gets kind of confusing, but really the concept is what's important, not necessarily the definitions, the idea behind them, I think, is what we need to grasp. You can find and the next thing we want you to do is find 5 examples of art that use these principles, okay? And they can be found in all these fields. You can post them into a document, however you want to do it, and write a brief description of each of the principles you see within these images, okay? Of course, focusing on dominant, subordinate, and contrast, okay? Looking for the examples of those will be your top priority. Here's some examples of, here's somebody is in dominant, subordinate. It's very obvious, darks and lights. You've got intensity with subdued areas, less intensity. Here's an example. You could even go dominant as far as texture goes. You could have a dominant rough shapes with subordinate smooth on the egg, or rough shapes, rough textures, right? Here's one that's really gone very, very in depth. You could read through this on the PDF if you want to get an example. And now they've looked for, they've just gone with very intense observation of their piece, okay? So really, this is all we're looking for, okay? And I want you to be very clear as to what the images are showing. All right. Next, we've got using the knowledge that you've gained from this chapter. We're going to have 4 different compositions. Now, one composition must use color. That's all. That's the only thing there. Black and white value shapes. One must use texture, and one line alone. All right. So you just kind of look for something, for instance, that texture piece with the bird, with the egg and the bark would be a good example of a composition that uses texture as its main focus. Does that make sense? So you're using these elements to go along with your principles. And it's, non-representational and abstract. I don't know about, these are not necessarily my examples, but it gives you an idea of what they're looking for. Hold on just a second, accidentally. Okay. But basically, it can be any kind of subject matter you want, as long as these principles are emphasized. You want 3 thumbnail drawings of each composition, so it'll be 12 total. And the final composition, it will be 6 by 8, and of course you're doing 4 of these. Your thumbnail drawings in preparation for these can be very small. And about 2 by 3, just something around there, just to kind of give you a number. Kind of the same proportion, though, as the 6 by 8. That's the important thing. So here are some examples. They're going with these different examples, for instance, of contrast and dominant subordination in the tree. You can also play around with placement and different things like that. But the biggest thing is that we concentrate on these principles. Here's some more examples of thumbnails. All right. Thumbnails don't have to have color in them, but they can have color in them. It's up to you as far as it kind of gives you a clearer vision of what you want in the final piece. So then you decide on which 3 of the thumbnails you'll use for each composition. So you'll end up with 4, right? And it's important to make your decisions based upon the effectiveness of the composition, not necessarily the subject matter. Don't try not to get so caught up in the subject matter that it destroys your actual goal of showing these principles clearly. Try to, with your composition, try to give it some structure, make it clean. Tape off edges, things like that. That'll give you a better piece. If you don't do that, actually in Photoshop or whatever program you're in, go ahead and clean up some edges and stuff. Just make this very presentable. That's part of being, in art, is to make your pieces very presentable. All right. Here's some examples. Okay. Here's an example using line, course, they've thrown color in there too. You're allowed to use color um, in any of these things if you want. It just says that one must be color. But the fact is, you can throw color in a lot of these exercises if you want. All right, I have no problem with that as long as you're employing. Here's another one of the line exercises. Okay, some more line, some black and white value shapes. So this one though, you don't want color. All right. Texture. So this one's concentrated on texture. It's kind of a neat design, and you can see the dominant, subordinate. So here's more texture. See, so this is texture, but could also be used for color. So you can combine the elements a little bit, and if you wanted to, the only one that I think you don't want color in is the value one. Okay. All right. Have fun with this. Once again, I think we're creating art now. You look at your final pieces. I don't think you necessarily need to look at them as like final images, like real presentation quality, illustration portfolio images. We're just looking for, almost like comp images for neat assignments that could be done in the future. So I don't need you spending too much time on these, but we have to make them nice, clean, presentable, and fulfill the assignment. Look for those principles that you need to find in these images. Okay, have fun with this. If you have any questions, of course, call me, email me, whatever you need to do, and we'll get anything clarified. Okay, have fun. Talk to you later. Bye.